Alright, let's get this shit show on the road. Okay, so the biggest question coming up into 3.0 is everyone's wondering what exactly is going to be the best way of getting ahead of everyone else. That's going to be by leveling, getting geared, etc. So there's already a million different guides to show leveling stuff. None of them are really any much better than the other. The biggest thing that you're just going to need to worry about is just making sure you get at least level like 50 once you go into the hassle section. So for any new players, you're going to be used to this area, this little shit place for the old Hazlitt token gears. That's going to be obsolete now. The only thing you're going to need to be in Hazlitt for this whole entire area is just going to be for the quest gear, that it gives you the full set of level 50 quest gear. Don't bother going through here for any of the Hazlitt tokens. It's not going to be worth it because you're just going to be upgrading it directly after you get it, and you're going to spend several hours worth of grinding for absolutely nothing. What you're going to want to do instead is going straight to Aurora now. Your best bet is going to either, you go to either Diamond Shores or Sun Gold Fields, killing these dumb motherfuckers. 52. They'll be decent XP because as long as you're within, I think it's either 5 or 10 levels from a mob, you're going to get XP from them, so you can use that to level up as well. But you're going to get, let's actually find one of these that actually gives me it. Haunted Obsidian and Malevolent Obsidian. And those are going to be used in weapon crafting. So any of the obsidian weapons that you're going to get, you're going to go straight for any obsidian weapon. Now for me, I have a katana, but if you're going for whatever, it doesn't really matter. But the first thing you're going to do is get at least 10 of these and 1 wisp. Now wisps are gotten from any illustrious weapon. You can even stone it, it'll give you 1 wisp at illustrious, I believe 2 at magnificent, and so on, exponentially increasing for each one. So you're going to have one of your guys in your group, because I'm assuming most of you people are going to be running in groups. If you're running by yourself, sucks to be you. Try to at least make at least 1 illustrious weapon if you can with any of the Archeum or anything like that that you're able to find on the auction house for cheap. Otherwise, you can always open coin purses and pray to God that you might get lucky enough to get some actual crystals. But for the most part, you're just going to want to get at least 1 wisp and that 10 obsidian mats to create your tier 1 weapon. What you're going to do with that directly afterwards is regrading it. And I know that seems like a terrible idea because no one wants to go into the game day 1 and start regrading and having it fail. Well, the nice thing is now is that you can't downgrade before it gets to Celestial. So you're going to have guaranteed either a Celestial or possibly a Divine weapon if you use a Lucky at Unique and get a great success. So you're guaranteed at least a Celestial weapon. It might fail a couple times, but for the most part the RNG is actually pretty well stacked in your favor to where you can get it with just a couple hundred gold. And that's going to be the best way of going about it because your weapon is going to be, at the beginning of the game, over 90% of where your damage is going to be coming from because no one else is going to have armor or gems. Other than that, there's just a couple things for actual class designs. So if anyone probably remembers from back in the day, Witchcraft used to be one of the strongest class combinations in the game. Like, if any class that had Witchcraft was really strong. Now, people always assumed that was because Witchcraft was just a broken class and they nerfed it to fix it. The real reason was because of the synergy that comes with Witchcraft and non-gemmed or geared players, being that any sort of hard CC or even soft CC was amplified by about twice as much when you don't have things like resilience and toughness to actually stop damage that comes from that type of CC. Also, Witchcraft Enervate Mudhand combo has some really good flat damage output, but not very good scaling. So once you actually get geared, it's not that big of a deal. But at the start of the game, Witchcraft is going to be one of the most powerful classes again. So I would say if you're looking for any class, Dark Runner, mage or anything like that, I would say start with the Witchcraft variant of that class. So you'd be running either Shadow Blade or Dagger Spell, etc. Because one, it's going to have the greatest flat damage output, and you have the a lot of CC at your disposal if things get flaky. And 2, you have the passive from Witchcraft that's going to give you a lot more mana back per damage that you deal, so you can pretty much grind for mobs for forever without ever having to stop or even pop potions. So that'll save you some gold there just by leveling up a class that's going to be useful. Fiend's Knell is also going to be ridiculously overpowered with players that aren't geared. Even the damage it does now is ridiculously strong. Imagine that on people that have no toughness or resilience. But other than that, yeah, like it's a really good one to have, but once you get to 55, you could probably toss it aside for another class that you want to level up yourself. If you wanted to go full Dark Runner or Enigmatist or anything like that, then yeah, you can throw it aside then. But I would say for leveling up, you'd want to start with Witchcraft, because any PvP you have, you'll be able to dominate that easily without really having to think. Let's see, what's some other shit that needs to be said? Oh yeah, so all you motherfuckers that are coming back for the first time in forever, this game is a rock, paper, scissors game. Now what I mean by that is that melees are going to be cloth, cloth are going to beat plate, and plate are going to beat the squishy melees. So if you're an abolisher and you're running the full plate armor and some guy 3 levels above you that's going Enigmatist Mage or something, even some stupid class that makes no sense, manages to combo you and one-shot you, don't be fucking mad. It's the class you picked, it's the armor that you have. Plate gets countered by mages. Mages get countered by melees, and melees get countered by plate. That's how it's gonna work. So don't start crying that a class type is OP just because it happened to one-shot you when you're several levels or even a higher gear score above it. There are such a thing as counter classes. There are such a thing as there's just such a thing as counter classes in the game. Like, don't fucking bitch about that, because that happened a lot and we got a lot of needless nerfs, such as archery nerfs. So don't make that shit happen again, you idiots. Oh, let me think. What else? This game's going to be pay to win. There's no doubt about that. Most of it is going to become directly from the cash shop. However, even without an actual cash shop in the game, you're still going to have that with a player-driven economy. Players are still going to be able to trade items and gold. So even if the cash shop didn't exist, you'd still have gold sellers and stuff like that that are sometimes just completely untrackable. So if you weren't playing this game because it had even the option to pay to win, and you think that trying removing some of the cash shop is going to fix that, just don't even play. Save yourself the time. It's not going to be worth it. Most of the things that are moving from the cash shop are just going to be things that are out now. They're still going to have pretty much the same cash shop that was released back when the game first initially launched. So the game's still going to have its pay-to-win elements in the game. You're still going to need Patron to really be able to play at any sort of competitive or hell even fun level. But yeah, like it's going to be pay to win. That's the way you're just going to have to look at it. But the thing is, it does the game pay to win really well with the addition of things like Apex and transferable credits, because Apex gives the gold like an actual value. Instead of just everyone just transferring straight to credits, you have set Apex that are worth a certain amount of credits for gold to make gold actually, to give gold like an actual decent economical stabilizer. And it also gives free-to-play players a way to actually become patrons and work their way back up into the system, because they're going to have to work harder for it, and they'll have to spend probably twice as many hours on the game that a regular paying player would do, but they're still able to get the same experience if they work hard enough for it. The people you're usually going to see that look like they're super pay to win aren't even going to be those pay to win players. The players that are going to be doing both. The players that are going to be working as hard as a free-to-play player but still paying it so they get double the profits. Because if you just have a paying player and a free-to-play player, that the free-to-play player is playing twice as much as the paying player, they're going to eventually pretty close to equalize out with how much gear score they have, how good their gear is, what level they are, etc. When you have players that are doing both because they just want to min-max everything and just get the highest amount of levels and experience and whatever you want to call it, that's when you're actually going to get players that are leaps and bounds ahead of you. Now that portion of the player base is only going to be like probably the top, I don't know, 5% maybe it's not going to be that many players. Like, you're going to notice them a lot more, yeah, because they're going to come up, you're going to one-shot you, and you deal no damage, and that sticks in your mind. It's the law of just negative remembrance. You're going to remember things that affected you negatively than things that would just like that worked in your favor. Everyone remembers when they got their trade packs stolen. No one remembers those times where they turned their trade packs in no problem and everything just happened fine, because that's not memorable. That's not something that really sticks its way into your mind and just kind of festers there for forever. So you could probably have easily like a 90% turn-in ratio with your packs, but you get that one trade ship stolen, and then you go logging onto the arcade forums and start bitching about how green pirates shouldn't exist because they stole your hard-earned money. And yeah, okay, it might seem like that's an issue, but at the time you still have 90% of your packs turned in. They got 10% of that, and they were probably out there the entire time for almost all the times that you went and took your trade packs anywhere, and they didn't get any of that shit. So they got a 10, like one pack out of every 10 that you've ever brought, and they made a lot less gold, but it stands out a lot more for you because you're used to getting it turned in, so anything different from that sticks out in your mind. I know in the beginning of the game there were people that complained about labor and how labor should be removed. All those players were, for lack of better words, retarded. And had absolutely no idea of how in-game economies work, because as soon as you have mobs that drop flat gold instead of gold that needs to be opened with coin purses that spend labor to generate gold into the game, anytime you have something that brings anything into the game that's just a flat gold output, you're going to have bots out the wahoo just grinding mobs constantly and getting a bunch of gold to just sell, or even bots that are just for other players, not even selling, just sending it to their main account. And when you have that, eventually it gets to the point where, yeah, if it's just 3 or 4 bots, yeah, trying to take care of them. But when you have like 200 bots every day, and it's a free-to-play game, so you have people that are able to just make a new Gmail account, then make a new account in literally less than an hour and start going again, that's bad. That's terrible for a game economy, and it's going to ruin everyone else's experience, as even the person that's actually just doing it, because as soon as that happens, then bots are just going to become the normal. Everyone that has a bot is going to be decently well off, but everyone that doesn't is just going to be so behind the curve of everyone else that they're going to literally need to get a bot. And that's kind of how the game is with alts right now, just because like there's nothing really wrong with having alts in the game, but they've just become so prevalent that anyone that doesn't have an alt is pretty much behind everyone else that does, because it's something that's basically needed to actually get enough gold per labor income to actually afford some of the higher priced items on the market right now. And that's what you're going to see, is you're going to see in the beginning of the game, there's going to be some items that are worth a lot more than others because they're harder to obtain. Now, eventually the economy is going to stable out, but to start with, one thing I would recommend is investing most of your gold into Apex as soon as possible. Those are going to be cheap as shit when the game comes out because of people that want to pay to win and just be able to level up via gold grinding, labor pots, etc., stuff like that. So I would say investing in some of those would be great, because the only thing that's going to happen is more gold's going to come into the actual economy before any gold actually goes out. The only way for gold to go out of the game is for auction house fees, which, let's be honest, auction house fees are really, really low, or regrading, and no one's going to regrade for the start of the game except you, if you're smart and actually get like a celestial or divine obsidian weapon to start with. So yeah, just making smart investments and knowing where the actual money's coming from, because there's not going to be really like any 100% good gold making strategies for this game. Most of the ways, the best ways that you're going to get to make gold is going to be playing the auction house, playing the market a little bit more. You can always do trade ones, you can always do fishing, but the problem with that is because it's going to be a 1 mega server, essentially, with all the players playing there, you're going to have people camping docks, you're going to have people pirating all the time, that it's not necessarily the safest way to actually make gold. Now, I can't say for sure what's going to actually be a good price point on the market when the game first comes out. However, I can assume things like Lunarite and Archeum are going to be in very high demand to start with, so it might be in your best interest to either A, quickly grab some land in Aurora and start doing trees, or B, farming coin purses. You can either do any of the library, like the floor 3 library purses are worth a decent amount and you get a decent supply of Archeum from them, and selling that, so the Archeum, the Lunarite, dust, fragments, etc., and trees to players that are trying to get that Archeum supply, and use that as your method of income for like maybe the first week. Now, if you're looking at this from a guild standpoint, what should my whole guild do to actually stay competitive and not just be the very best for like 3 days and then fall off the face of the map because they had nowhere else to go once they got their celestial weapons? Any smart guild's going to want to try to hold content. Creating monopoly on content is what's going to keep them higher up on the server, because those are going to sell for the most gold to whales or what have you, players that save a lot of money for that stuff. The things that bring in the most gold into the game are probably going to be things like Kraken and DGS. 100 gold's a lot at the start of the game's life. So getting control of Kraken early to where it has like, it's close to like 100 gold for some of the, for the tentacles, and it drops like 30 plus, probably like 50-ish, close to somewhere like that. That's going to be a lot of gold, and you have the Kraken Glider, the Kraken Scepter, stuff like that. So your best way is to try to create a monopoly on that. Now, how would you do that? It should only take about 2 days to get your weapon. After that, you can get like 1 day for leveling up to 55. It's doable. You can do it in maybe a day and a half if you dedicated yourself hard to it. We'll assume it takes 3 days to get your weapon. So after those 3 days, what you want to do is just go to the sea. Castaway Straits, I think right here. Sea bugs. Position people all around to farm all the sea bugs you can. Get the ship designs and stuff like that. Get good galleons. If you can get a galleon quickly, have part of your guild run packs to Friedrich to get enough gilda for galleons for a couple of your main players in the guild, and the rest of them have designs to actually craft the galleon parts like cannons and sails. You can get probably at least 3 or 4 celestial galleons will be enough to contest Kraken for the most part. Once you get that, you DPS Kraken down, you can get that in probably under a day or 2. So within the first week, you have Kraken on lock. That's a lot of gold coming into the game. And that's a lot of gold coming into just your guild. So right then, you're feeding your guild a lot of gold per day, just from that. From there, you can... Before then, you could probably do Rangora. It's not hard. From there, you probably go to Morpheus. Possibly Anthlon if you get enough, or get like the right drops. It's pretty easy to do Anthlon with everyone level 55 defense. Shit, what else is there? There's not too many in the way of world bosses. But once you get that, like the first week, then you have people that are at least getting geared up enough to be able to do things like Serpentis, get the Serpentis gear sets down, run those for some of your weaker geared members, so at least they have a good set bonus and good armor to help them stay slightly competitive against most other people that aren't going to have access to anything else. From there, I don't think they're putting DGS in the actual game early on, which is smart on their part, but that gives you one less boss to actually try to contest. You can do shit like Hanur and the Golem there if you wanted to, but I don't see it being all that beneficial, unless someone really needs the drops, but more than likely you're not going to have that be an issue. But yeah, your best bet is just claiming territory. If you can get a lot of houses and land in any of the Aurora territory, it's going to make it easier for you to obtain a castle, especially if you have Kraken on lock. if you're known as the first guild to kill Kraken, higher geared people that are paying to win and looking for that easy carry ride are going to transfer over to your guild, and your guild's just going to get stronger. From there, you can take possibly at least one castle. Could probably take two if you worked hard for it and actually like split your guild up a little bit between a couple guilds instead of just having just one mega guild. But yeah, that's basically it. It's gonna be like, the game's gonna move fast, and you gotta watch it because everyone knows what they're doing now. It's not like release day when everyone's dicking around in the starting zone being like, oh, I can pick these flowers up. Wow, isn't this cool? I can kill these rabbits. Oh, this is cool. People are just gonna powerhouse through this shit because they've done it a million times. They know how to do it. Like, it's second nature to them. So just making sure you don't fall behind the curve is going to be probably the biggest and most important step. That's basically it. But yeah, it's just, the game's, like, the new server is not really going to last that long as far as actual player freshness goes. I'm giving it a month tops, and that's about it. After that, you're going to have the same shit of people just YOLOing their divine or celestial weapons. And I mean, if 50 people do them, you have one or two that's pretty much guaranteed to go epic or legendary. And as soon as that happens, it's game over, because everything's just going to hyperinflate and things are going to go back to how they are on the normal servers. So yeah, that's about it. Have fun out there.